Good morning and welcome back to the Closers Inner Circle podcast with Ben Gade III and me, Denise Griffitts. And I need to tell you why we've been off air for almost 3 weeks now. Somehow I managed to trip over my own feet and shattered my shoulder. It wasn't fun, but I'm back now. And I found out yesterday, this is the good news. I found out yesterday that I don't need surgery. So I'm all happy and I'm back and I'm glad to be here with you and with Ben. And today we're going to be talking about AI and why AI really won't kill sales. We hear a lot about it. It won't kill sales, but it will kill mediocre sales and salespeople. And here's what's going on. Everybody's obsessing over AI stealing the sales floor. Meanwhile, the smartest sellers are quietly doubling down on the one thing automation cannot fake, and that's trust. Ben and I talk about that a lot. In this episode, we dig into why slower decisions, tighter budgets, and higher stakes buying committees are making emotional intelligence, not tech stacks, the real differentiator in 2026. If your close rate depends on a chatbot, you're already losing because people know. They know that you're not authentic. They know that you're not talking to them. They know that you're just hitting a number somewhere. So every AI will replace salespeople headline is wrong. And 2026's numbers prove it. Budgets are tighter, deals are slower, and buying committees of one or two people or 100 people are more paranoid than ever. But that's not a problem for AI to solve. And I use AI a lot, and I'll tell you about that later. But it's a trust problem, and trust is human territory. So today we're going to make the case that sales reps leaning hardest into empathy, transparency, and read the room instincts are the ones that are eating everyone else's pipeline. We've talked about this a bit. We're going to keep on talking about it. So Ben, hi, I'm back.
Hi there. Well, welcome back. And you and I have chatted offline. Just do what they say. I'm thrilled you don't have to have the operation, but do what they say.
I am. And you know me, I don't take directions well. I fight with my
That's the
nervous
reason
system.
I'm
I
saying
know.
do what they say.
But in this case, I'm doing exactly what they tell me. I don't argue. I don't cry or whine. I just do it. I don't want to live like this. Yeah. I mean, right now I can have one hand. That's it. That's all I can use. But the pain is decreasing and I don't have to have surgery. So whatever they tell me, I'm doing it. I promise I am.
Well, stay on that program because they can go. I told you years ago, 1962, and I know that because that was the year I got my first new car, a Volkswagen. And as I was riding away in the ambulance, out the rear window, I saw my VW Bug getting smaller and smaller. I was at a warehouse sale for Macy's running it, and somebody called me, and I turned after a week on a hard floor setting it up. I turned to see what she wanted without moving my feet, so I turned from the waist up, pinched a nerve, which 60 some odd years later still bothers me. Sometimes I have real attacks. And looking back and talking to other doctors, they said, well, it's a little late now, but here's what you should have done. I said, where were you 60 years ago? So I learned the hard way. You take care of it. It's going to require patience because it'll take longer to recover than you think. And then move cautiously. Gigi's always asking me, are you hurting today? And I said, no, I'm trying not to hurt. I don't turn from the waist up anymore without moving my feet. You and I had mentioned that. I watch where I'm going. I look down. If I die, it's not going to be from tripping on something. So I don't want to go through that again. So be careful, be patient, do what they say, and it'll go away. But for some of it, you'll feel 5, 10 years later from now, because these
I've been
things,
told that,
yeah,
it's not ever really fixed, but if I can get rid of the constant throbbing and I live under ice packs right now, which is interesting, but, you know, I don't care how bad it gets down the road. I just worry about it right now and how to fix it.
Patience and do what they say.
Yep.
I got before we get into the subject matter, I got a question that came in from Irvin Ray, one of our regular listeners, I guess. I hear from him frequently. And he wanted us to expand a little bit on onboarding,
OARD.
ONBOARDING. Yeah, onboarding. When you bring somebody new on with the company, it's not just, hi, there's your desk, see you around. Let me know how it works out, and I'll see your yearly review. So I think what Irvin was driving at was, how do you bring them on to start with? And one thing is, find out what they've done in the past. One of my old mentors, William Penpatrick, used to say, people are going to do what they've always done. So find out what they've always done. In my work in and around prisons, I found out that bank robbers tend to remain bank robbers. They don't go off into drug dealing usually. Drug dealers stay in the drug dealing business. People who are successful in selling tend to remain successful in selling. They may have ups and downs when they change product lines and so on, but not much, because it's a learned skill that they can practice anywhere. So it depends on the type of job, but I always think about selling. If I'm onboarding somebody into our sales operation, and I've done this with thousands of people. One, I find out what they used to make or made at the last 2 or 3 jobs. And people say, well, you can't do that. That's illegal. Maybe. I really don't know. I haven't let it affect me. And I know other ways to do it, without violating any privilege and so on. And they're free to walk. They don't have to tell me their history. But in somebody mentioned it yesterday, Jim Rohn said to a person, tell me what you did and so on, and how many sales did you make yesterday, or how many calls did you make? And I said, well, my dog was sick. He said, oh, whoa, whoa, I don't have time or space for a story. See this little box they gave me? At the most, 2 digits will fit in it. So I can't get a story. I want a number. And they said, well, I don't know if a number will mean anything. He said, it means a lot. You tell me your number and I'll tell you your story. So,
And your
uh,
success rate. If
right,
your dog was sick
exactly.
and your pets
What's
do
your
get sick,
closing percentage?
right, what did you do? How did you work around it? What happened?
Yeah.
And if
So
you
in a
did 10,
casual
something
conversation,
happened, right? I mean, if you did 10 sales or 10 calls, something happened. You might have got 10 no, go away, leave me alone, or you might have gotten a maybe, or you might have gotten a sale, but you did something.
right? And in baseball, they know all that stuff. What's your batting average? What's your batting average from left-handed pitchers? What's your batting average with right-handed pitchers? What's your batting average with 2 out? you know, there's all sorts of things that change things, and you got to know your numbers, which is almost a separate subject, but you've got to know your numbers. I have, as you know, an 86% closing rate on significant sales, and I hit that probably 30 years ago, and it only goes up a point or two a month. Never far from me. In fact, I just say 86. I really don't even care when they bring me the figure that I asked for. I don't I don't care what it is, because I know what it is. It's 86%. So if I come into your company and I have a desire to be the number one salesperson, and I have an 86% closing rate, what I want to know from the current number one salesperson is, what's your closing rate? How many contacts, presentations do you give a day? Once I have that, I can beat him. Because if he's doing whatever it is with 8 calls a day and I'm hitting 86%, all I have to do is 10 calls a day, I win. So it comes in handy in a lot of ways, mainly for self-checking, to keep track of yourself and keep yourself on track. So However you get it, I do it with casual conversations, and if they're loosey-goosey about giving me the figures, that's fine too. But if I have to outmaneuver them, I do it with casual conversations, listening carefully for numbers, percentages, commission rate, what do they pay you on a sale, etc. But you're not joining my team until one way or the other, I know what you've done in the past, what you're used to making, etc. Because I don't want to waste my time and energy trying to help you if you're not helpable. And or I want to help you in those areas where perhaps you need help. But that's a big part of onboarding. Most people start it. We've hired him. Now what do we do? Well, what I'm saying is when you're hiring him or her, make sure you're getting the right person to start with. That's as best you can tell. And I forget what they're called, but those the 3M preference tests do not predict, whatever they are. There's a bunch of them floating around that you give to a prospect. He fills it out, and now you feel safe, which all you're doing is protecting your backside. So when he or she doesn't perform, you can say, yeah, but the so-and-so test said that this is what he would do. Well, let me tell you something, folks. The so-and-so test can't tell you what he's going to do. When it's right, and sometimes it appears to be, it's sheer coincidence and or very generalized. What will tell you about past performance and therefore future performance is what have you done? Last 2 or 3 jobs,
Right.
last
And
10
consistently
years.
done too. You have to be consistent about what you've
Yeah.
done. You can't just make it up last week and say, "Oh, look, I did this."
In the last 10 years, if they've been in 3 jobs, there's something else you need to know. Why'd you leave the first one? Were you fired? Did you leave? Why'd you leave the second one? And third, why are you sitting here talking to me? If we've been through 3 career changes in 10 years, if you're brand new, I understand. You guessed wrong. But if you've been at it a while, 3 career changes in 10 years is pushing it just a little bit. So that's how we figure out who we're going to hire to start with, among all the other common things. Does he or she look like our people? Would fit in here? Are you 200 pounds overweight, dressed like a slob? No, thank you. We got enough problems in selling without adding all these additional problems onto it. So now let's assume we've hired them and they've come in. You personally greet them. If they work in a lower level department from what you normally deal in, you and their immediate supervisor greet them in a meeting. How do you feel? Are you excited? Are you afraid? Da-da-da-da-da. And then I always say something along these lines. I'm going to call you back in here in a couple of weeks and ask you what we're doing that seems odd to you or wrong to you or what have you. I want to talk to you again before you become part of the problem. We have problems. I'm sure you can help me unearth them while you're fresh. Once you've been here a while, you are part of the problem. I will overhear you saying, well, that's the way we've always done it. Or Bob said, we had a little breakthrough in thinking, I won't bore you with the details, but in the shipping department, hired a bright young person almost a year ago now, who I walked in, hey, how you doing? Fine. How's it going? Fine. Mr. Gay, would you mind if I gave you a couple of told you about a couple of things I've observed? And he then went through one that we were wasting money bracing books by buying for 75 cents a piece a brace, cardboard brace to make sure the book doesn't bend. I said, well, isn't that important that the book doesn't bend? And he said, well, it probably is, although very few books as thick as these are and as tight as we pack them would bend. But more importantly, we have all these boxes coming in and we have box cutters. So why don't we cut the lids? There's 8 on a box. Cut the lids off, not counting the big sides, but we generally don't need those. Just the flaps. There's 8 flaps per box coming in. That's 70 cents times 8 that we don't have to buy because we cut them off, and that becomes the brace. And it gives us a little more freedom, and he went into how you bend it over to protect the top and the bottom. I said, that's a great idea. And then he went into a thing about how we cover the label with clear packing tape, so it'll stay on the package and not get all torn up in transit. And it was a thing, he said, your people measure it carefully. That takes time, and they put it down on the label on one side, then the other side as neatly as they can, because the goal is to only use 2 pieces of packing tape. He said, well, Mr. Gay, packing tape isn't expensive, A. B, 70 or 80% of the time they don't get it close enough, and they need the third strip right down the middle to cover that little gap. So here's my suggestion. Put the one down the middle to start with, and then put the ones on each side of that on second and third, and you'll always need those because the one down the middle doesn't cover the whole label. And he said, so since 70 or 80% of the time you need the third one, let's just put it in to start with. And then he'd even figured out what our average person down there made as best he could tell based on what he made. And he said, you'll save money wasting tape instead of wasting the time of people trying to measure it, hoping they only have to use 2 short pieces of tape instead of 3. And I said, okay, well, we save now, it's not a fortune, but hundreds of dollars a month in not buying braces for the books. We have plenty of braces, it turned out. We've always had plenty of braces, but they were going to the recycling and out to the dump somewhere. And the tape cost didn't significantly go up or down, but the frustration level of our people went down significantly.
And the time they were spending, that's money.
Absolutely. At $20 an hour or whatever probably is the average for most of them in that job, some more, the time that they save. So I've kept a close eye on this young man. And, I'll sort of wink at him as I come through, which is my signal. You got any more? Give me some more stuff. But there's an example, and it wasn't his onboarding follow-up meeting yet. It was just his suggestion. I probably would have heard about it in a week or two anyway, but by creating an atmosphere where they can talk to you, you don't let them become part of the status quo, part of the problem. That's the way we've always done it. I don't know, ask Bob, this young man. And now, because they've seen me praise him and suspect maybe he got a little bonus, which he did, I got people down there looking for, what if we only swept once a day at the end of the day and no
But now they're
customer.
paying attention. They're really looking around to see if there's a problem that can easily be solved, or if there's one that nobody's really noticed that needs to be solved anyway.
Absolutely. And they know you get praise.
Right.
And perhaps some money along the way, depending on what it is. The government is currently looking for fraud and waste and so on. I can tell you how to do it real quick. Let's say there's a fraudster in a given agency or department. He or she is not operating alone. Others know what they're doing. Others probably, as part of their job, sort of have to help them do it. And the paperwork crosses their desk, so they see it. So give them an incentive. We will give you, I'm making up numbers, 10% of the money you save us in a cash bonus. And maybe all the money we save as a result of your idea for a year in a cash bonus. It gets people up. And I'm not talking about just looking for fraud and ratting other people out. Oh, that's not a bad idea. I'm talking about just anything. The post office lost billions of dollars last year. And I've got 2 or 3 ideas that would save them a lot of that. One, those plastic tubs they give you. If you've ever, to carry things around in, If you've ever been to a garage sale, you've seen lots of them. I cumulatively have seen thousands of them at garage sales, etc., because people get them, take them back to their office, and never return them to the post office. They're probably, I don't know, $5, $7, $10 each. So you put a deposit on them. And somebody working at the post office has figured it out, but they're part of the problem now. Should have figured out that why do we have to order 50 new tubs a month when we had enough tubs to start with? Because they're in people's garage, they're being used as laundry baskets, etc. People
Oh,
come in and
yeah.
get,
I have a couple of them,
you
and
know,
they're in my garage, and I do use them. They didn't tell me I had to return it, so I didn't.
yeah. Well, it was sort of assumed, but rather than throw you under the bus by yourself, thinking we might talk about this today, uh, I looked around our shipping department and we had three, and I don't mean three that just came in from the post office that day and are going back. These three are like furniture. They've been there forever and they're stacked up. So you could only use the top one if you had said, well, we're using that. Well, not really. They haven't moved in years. And you can't use the bottom two anyway. And nothing's moved off of the top of the bottom two in years. And then priority mail, those free envelopes that they give you.
Yeah.
People come in, and I'm at the post office when I'm in town frequently, and I know who the movers and shakers are. I know who brings lots of stuff to the post office, ready to go. Just put it up on the receiving counter and leave it. Gigi got into the vintage jewelry business in part because one day I said to a guy who brought in a lot of stuff, rivaled our book sales in units, number of packages. I said, what do you sell? He said, old watches and vintage jewelry. I said, there's a market for that? And he said, oh, you wouldn't believe it. Well, we're now in Gigi just sold a box of, I think it's 100 vintage watches she'd gotten somewhere. And we turned that casual conversation into a business. So anyway, back to packaging material. People come in who I know aren't part of that crowd. And, I like padded flat rate envelopes. Please, how many you need? 50. And they go home and they sit there for years, or they wallpaper their bathrooms with them. I don't know what they're doing, but they're not coming back to the post office to mail anything. No significant amount of them are. And so it's pretty simple. Let's say, I don't know what the postage is. I never look at it that's not my area. But let's say they're $7 a piece for a large flat rate envelope. That's what it's going to take to put something in it, take it to the post office, or pre-print the label and take it to the post office. Let's say they're $7 a piece. Since they're going to spend, you gave them the envelope, and they're going to spend $7 anyway. Charge them the $7 when they get the envelopes. I need 10 of those free padded envelopes, no problem. $70. And then on the front of the envelope, pre-stamped, is that it's paid. It's done. Those two save the tubs and charge for the envelopes just to keep them in check. If you really need 50 envelopes a week, it won't be a problem because you're going to get all your money back. You would have spent that money anyway in a week. If you're getting 50 envelopes and you only need 3, then you'll start getting 3 or 5 or whatever when you're paying $7 a piece for them in advance. Those two ideas alone, I promise you, would save the post office hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe $1 billion or more. So if we've got somebody on here who works for the post office or knows somebody who does, there's an idea that they can throw up in the air and see if they can get an agreement to get paid on the savings in advance. Or, get an agreement to be paid on the
Right.
savings in advance. And you could
It's
do
much
that.
too logical, though.
Yeah. You could do that in any business. Here's another one. if the postmaster gets word of this conversation, no Saturday delivery. You can have the Saturday post office open if you want, or just close it for the weekend. Other businesses close for the weekend. I'm not heartbroken. I don't even know if we get a Saturday delivery at the house. And we have a P.O. box at the house also for the business. And we have 2 at the post office, those bronze covered boxes. We have 2 of those big ones. If something comes in on Saturday, I and whoever goes to the post office that day doesn't know about it till Monday. Most of us are not running our business at full speed on Saturday. Just don't. So that cuts your labor costs back, almost 20% by just not having people out drifting around providing an unneeded service. And if it is needed, fine, tell them to come to the post office and pick it up or do it or have a Saturday hold or whatever. I don't know all the details. But that's what a set of new eyes can do. And when you bring people into the business that are new, profit from their newness. And their newness means they just don't take it for granted. They don't believe, and I've been called at that numerous times. Why do we do it this way? Well, I don't know. We've always done it that way. It's part Macy's. When I was at Macy's, Davison's in Atlanta, but owned by Macy's. When I worked for them, I did a sparkling, wonderful job. I was the youngest buyer they'd had in their then 100-year history. I really don't recall saying, why are we doing this? I just did what they were doing better. Well, I could have made them twice as much money if somebody'd asked me. Be on the lookout for things we're doing that are stupid. Be on the lookout for things we could do that we could do better. Be on the lookout for ways to incentivize our people. On 2 occasions, our housewares buyer, Cy Fisher, bought all of the cookware that Regal Ware in Kewaskum, Wisconsin, they were going out of business, bought all of their cookware at a deep discount so we could sell it at a discount. And then he put a spiff on it. Every time you sell one of these, you get an extra $10. Well, 40 years ago, that was $100. More than that. I sold, I'm guessing 70, 80% of the cookware things, because when you came in looking for an apron, I showed you the cookware. And then we had a similar thing with a lawnmower. Went back when rotary lawnmowers, where the blade goes around like a fan, was a new exciting concept, and mulching and so on. He bought all of the handy Andy lawnmowers there were and put a spiff on them, bought 500 as best I recall, and I sold 495 of them, I'm guessing, because there was a spiff and I was excited about it. And as a kid, I'd mowed lawns for a living. I knew the advantages and disadvantages of certain features and benefits. Here's the good news. We sold so much Regal cookware so fast, they went back into business, saying that we've got a lot 10 client with Macy's and so on, and we're going to be fine. And they got the financing, got back in business. They're still in business today.
I was going to say, I know Regal. I was like, what do you mean they're out of business? They're not. So
This
I
was
get it
in
now.
1960-ish,
Right.
and they were gone. They were a fond memory until Cy Fisher bought it all, put a spiff on it, and told us why it was great cookware. I've been out of that business years. I don't even know what pots and pans we have, but that one came with a 1, 2, and 3-quart saucepan, a 5-quart Dutch oven, a lid that fit it, and the lid also fit the fry pan. So, and all the saucepans, they all had their own lids. I could go into the whole presentation right now. I did it so many times. So many times we indirectly saved the company, and you know about Regal cookware. It was dead. Handy Andy,
I
we
didn't
didn't.
know that. I
Yeah,
never could.
Handy Andy lawnmowers, I don't think made the cut, but at least they got one last big order.
Yeah.
So there's a
Isn't
lot
that
of
the one that you had to return them all?
no, that was the
That was a
full
different one?
quad
Okay.
cut.
Yeah, that's it.
Don't
I'll
remind me of that.
I won't forget
I
that
was excited
story.
about that one too till I found out after I'd sold a few hundred they didn't work.
Right. And that's always a deal breaker, a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
But and I love what you're saying about watch what people are doing, but watch what they've done before. And when you first started saying that, I went, "Yeah, but, we're always telling people, 'Don't do what you did before,' because obviously it didn't work," but you're kinda discounting that in a way
Well,
that makes sense.
if what you did before worked, you keep doing
Right.
it.
Keep
I'm
doing it.
in a chat right now with, some people in the automobile business, and, the subject was, should you copy if somebody across town, another dealership is doing well at something, should you, uh, copy what they're doing? And the author who started the discussion said, "Absolutely not, then you're just copying." And people,
See, I don't agree. You
yeah,
do
yeah,
emulate what they're
exactly.
doing, but you put your own spin on it.
That's almost word for word what I told them. I
Okay,
said
see?
I said,
Look how
"If
smart I am.
yeah, find out what they're doing well that you want to do better. They may be doing things you don't have anything to do with and don't care, but the things that they're doing well, uh, that you want to be doing, copy it absolutely." And the author said something to the effect, "Well, that's like running a Xerox machine." Yeah, yeah, it is. And then I said, "And then improve on it, expand on it, but keep an eye on everybody else." And he even put up a little token resistance. "Well, then you'll all look the same." Well, if we're all doing well, fine. Most won't execute properly, but you study them all the time. Won't take up a lot of time today with this, but almost every successful product that I've ever had a hand in creating came from me finding some however it happened, stumbling across somebody who was already doing it, and we figured out a better way to do it. Guy came up to me one day, I was out in the yard and in and out of the garage, came up to me with a spray bottle of something, and I thought, "Oh god." If he'd gone to the front door, it says no soliciting, but he came to the back door, so the garage area. So I thought, well, fair game. What you got? I got a bottle of this, and he sprayed. He said, "You got a saw?" And I said, "I think so." So we looked around. I finally found a saw, and we looked at it. He said, "Look at there, it got rust on it. They all do." Squirted this stuff on it, waited a couple of minutes, wiped it off, no rust. Then oil drippings where one of the cars is parked all the time. Over time, you get some oil drippings. He said, "Look at this," squirted on it, gone. So I bought 2 bottles, one to use and one to send to my friend Mort Scott, who's a chemical genius. He invented Alka-Seltzer, Bromo-Seltzer, Sally Hansen Hard as Nails, and 2 or 3 other things that you know of, and some and a lot of cosmetics. He worked for us at Holiday Magic also. So I sent him a bottle. I said, "Can you break this down?" Because he was always saying, "I can break anything down and tell you what's in it in an afternoon at most." And, so anyway, he got the bottle. He said, "What do you want?" I said, "I wanna duplicate it without violating copyrights or registrations or whatever." He says, "Got it. I'll have the formula for you by tomorrow." And he said, "By the way, have you done your dumpster diving?" Because he knows that I'm famous for finding out what somebody's doing, and either myself or sending someone going in the dumpster behind their office where they throw things that they shouldn't throw out, like who you're buying from, what are you paying, etcetera. So a few days later, Moore had the formula, and I had where they got it and the price they were paying, and we came out with AB. Then I walked into a class. The product was called ABT3. A is in alpha, B is in Bob, T is in Tom, 3. I go into a training class that we were holding, and it happened to be advanced business training, number 3, the third one we'd held in that series. And I said, give me a name. And I explained the product to him. So I said, over at the end of lunch, I want you to tell me what we should call this. And being clever as they were, they said ABT3 an hour later, ABT3, which sounds like a powerful chemical. It stood for Advanced Business Training number 3. We sold millions of dollars. And people said, oh, you're so clever. How'd you come up with that? I was standing out back when a guy walked up and sold me 2 bottles. I called Mort Scott. You could do that with any chemist. And I went dumpster diving. The Bengay, the closer's logo that's on my hats and shirts and everything, people say is so cleverly done and tight, and they really admire it. People are forever complimenting it. It came off of a bumper sticker of a car in front of me the year that John McCain and Sarah Palin ran for president and vice president. It's the exact layout of their bumper sticker, including the little thing in the middle between the lines with a star in the middle of it. And people said to me, well, I'd like to get a hold of your artist. And I said, well, the artist just drove around reading bumper stickers. Every cosmetic line that I had anything to do with naming, when I was with Holiday Magic, we were right on the San Rafael Canal. Here's how we named it. We got on our small boat, the cabin cruiser, the Holiday Girl, and I had the driver of it, so I didn't have to drive and take notes. Take us around, cruise around through all the yacht harbors on that side of San Francisco Bay. And that's off the back of those is where I got the product names for every product I ever named. The men's cosmetic line, High Tides. Men loved the name, and it got them through. You think I'm going to wear cosmetics? Because that was back in the days when men didn't wear or use skin conditioner or anything. And when it was High Tides, it was sort of manly, and the artwork behind it was beautiful. That came off, it's probably still down there, that came off the back of a cabin cruiser on the San Rafael Canal. Almost everything I've come up with, or appeared to have come up with, was a modified idea that somebody else was already doing well. I'm not a
I
creator.
think a lot of us do that. I mean, unless we're,
Sure.
Sitting in front of a drafting table, trying to unkill our brain cells, we're not going to come up with these things. I mean, we're looking, we're observing. I get it from reading. My best ideas come from reading something somebody else wrote. Because I'm like,
Same thing.
yeah. I read all the time. And I'm telling you, I will take pictures of the book that I'm reading, or if it's in a Kindle book, I'll take a, quick screenshot of it, and I'll send myself a note and email, and then I've got a great article and it's not about whatever I thought it was going to be about, but it was about the idea that grabbed me when I saw that.
Absolutely. So what you got to do is get your antennas up and be aware, look around, be observant. Einstein said he wasn't the smartest person in the world. He was the most curious person in the world.
Right.
And that led him to all sorts of discoveries and so on. So back to, we're sort of circling artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, and I'm the last person in the world to be talking about this. I frequently need help sending an email. Gigi, help, or if something goes wrong with the computer and so on. But slowly but surely I'm coming around, and AI is slowly but surely coming to me, meaning there's all sorts of places that things pop up and are corrected and so on. That's AI at work. I didn't ask for it. It's just happening. So when people say, well, I'll never use AI, yeah, you will. In
You've been
fact,
using it for years.
right, yeah,
People only
exactly. You've been
knew.
using it for years, and in
Yep.
a few years, that's all you use, because there won't be anything else. There'll be AI 0.2 or 0.3 or what have you. But yeah, it's getting easier and easier. But while using it, you don't, and this was among your original points, don't lose yourself. a semi-famous author and I were talking one day. I said, I'm adding to the closer series. If you got anything already sitting around, because he's a sales and marketing guy, you either haven't published or you publish it, and because you didn't market it properly, it hasn't sold. Because I might be able to fit it into the closer series. This was back when we were about closers 3 or 4 or something. And he said, I really don't have anything like that. And then, I don't know, less than an hour later, I get an email. Attached is my book, the book you requested. And I clicked down and started reading it. It was obviously AI. It didn't sound like him. I know they have programs that supposedly sound like you. And it was much longer. And it was a 300-page book less than an hour after I asked him if he had one, and the answer was no. So I wrote back and said, love you, but that's so obviously AI, I'm not going to do it. If you can figure out a way to sneak some in, use ChatGPT, whatever it is, use all that, more power to you. But you got to get it past me first. I got to believe it. People who couldn't spell cat on a computer 3 months ago and now sending emails that are, if you printed them out, they'd probably be 10 pages long with perfect grammar and perfect this and so on. And I said, I've sent one yesterday, I think, to somebody. I said, my AI can beat your AI. And the next time I want to know about that, I'll just put in the question myself. Thank you very much. If I told someone else on Facebook or LinkedIn or something that complaining about AI and its overuse and so on, and I said, if you get it from me, I wrote it. You can also tell because I write short. A long email from me is 3 or 4 sentences. That's a long one. Because if you're thinking clearly, you can be very concise in your thinking. If you get a 20-page email on some subject, extremely well written, that's AI, and I won't read it. As soon as I smell AI, it's gone. Now, I don't care if you got it from there originally, thought about it, rewrote it, took some time, and I can feel you in there. Then I'll never know where it came from. I got into a friendly conversation with a guy the other day. He said, you take credit for people like to buy from people they know, like,
Like and
trust,
trust, right?
and with whom they feel safe.
Yeah, I wrote about that in one of my LinkedIn newsletters not too long ago.
And he said, well, that originally came from, and I won't use his name because I'm about to say something that is not totally favorable. That came from so-and-so in his book, so-and-so.
Yeah,
And
I
I
know who
said,
you're
well,
talking about.
yeah. I said, well, I was using it 20 years before that book came out, and it was spontaneous. I can picture the room. I can't tell you where it was, but I can picture the room I was standing in when I was answering a question. And I said, listen up. I had the tone of listen up, dummy. I didn't say dummy. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. That's the bad news. The good news is you can become a person they know, like, and trust in about 10, sometimes 10 seconds, but 10 minutes at the outside. And then one day I was talking to Rob Anspach, who writes a lot of stuff, and good guy, sales, marketing, and so on. And he said, this is just a couple of years ago, he said, and with whom they feel safe. And I said, you may consider that stolen.
Yeah, I remember when that happened.
Yeah, so my line now is people buy from people they know, like, trust, and with whom they feel safe. That came from Rob, I will admit it. The other one the basic came spontaneously from me. But then I had to tell this guy, just to change the subject and get off of it. I said, listen, when I came into the world, I didn't know a single word, nothing, not mama, not papa, not daddy, nothing. I didn't know anything except pain
I,
and
I had a,
pleasure.
I knew a word. My first word was no.
Probably not on birthday, but pretty quick, yeah.
Pretty close, yeah.
But anyway, I said, so obviously everything you've ever heard me say came from somebody else. A word here, a phrase there, etc. And over time, you start thinking that that was yours. Earl Nightingale wrote and recorded The Strangest Secret, which is you become what you think about. He got that from Napoleon Hill, who he didn't like. I've had them both in my house at the same time, and the disdain Earl had for Dr. Hill was palpable. He just thought his writing was simplistic and so on. But he says in one of his writings, one Saturday morning, I'm sitting in my study and reading this thing, and all of a sudden there it was, because Napoleon Hill had written in almost the same words, you become what you think about. So I attributed it for years to Napoleon Hill. It came from the Bible, word for word. It's in
Yeah.
the Bible.
Yeah.
It's
There's nothing new. This is what people need
nothing.
to understand. There's not a darn thing that's new. It's been rehashed or reworked or forgotten, and it's popular again. And this is happening with AI.
Yep.
AI only knows what it has been trained to know. So you do have to be very careful with it, and it's not going to take your job. It just isn't. You have to be the best human you can be. You have to be empathetic. You have to be aware. You have to listen. You have to have your scripts, all the things that you and I have talked about, and we'll keep going over them. But AI, and listen, I use AI a lot. And I tend to like Perplexity. A lot of people like Chat. I don't love Chat. In fact, I think I broke up with it a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure if it's permanent or not, but it was just giving me a lot of garbage, which I didn't really care for. But Perplexity.ai is something that I use in my business because I have to. And it's about this podcast. It's about my other podcast, Your Partner in Success Radio. But I get multiple emails a day from bookers, from people on LinkedIn, from people who have listened to the podcast, from people who have listened to you and me. And they're saying, Denise, what does it take to get on your show? Can I meet with you? A lot of different questions. Once they tell me who they are, what their book is about, if they've got a book, just give me the basics. I go immediately to perplexity.ai and I'll plug it in. Who is this person? What kind of work do they do? If they have a book, what's it about? And then my final question is always going to be, would they be a good guest for your partner in Success Radio? Because you and I don't do guests. We talk on our own. But, your partner in Success Radio I do guests and I do a lot of book reviews. And I'm telling you, the document that they give me back, it's miraculous. I don't have to do any homework. I don't have to go hunt them down or say, I don't know. I don't think I like this. It gives me everything. And I keep those documents. And I've gotten to the point where sometimes I'll send them to the guest because Perplexity likes them and they need to know that.
Yeah. Here's what they're saying about you.
And this is why you can come on my show. So there's that. But,
You're a bigger
AI
fan of
is
AI, and
important. Yeah.
you're a bigger fan of AI than I am in writing, and that's just my laziness. And a guy once sent me an email because I'd given several short responses, I guess. And he said, "You're a man of few words." And I emailed back, "True." It reminded me of Calvin Coolidge, President Calvin Coolidge, Silent Cal, they called him. Guy came up to him one time, and the dollar amount, of course, has changed over the years, but let's say $100. It was probably 10 at the time. But he said, I bet a friend of mine $100, a friend of mine bet me $100 that I couldn't make you say 3 words. And President Coolidge said, you lose.
That's almost, like, that's Churchillian. That's the kind of thing that Churchill would say or do. But going back to AI, it is important that you use it, that you become familiar with it, but you don't let it do everything for you. Now, listen, AI can write
And
your
don't get
emails.
caught doing it.
Yeah, don't get
It's
caught.
like
Yep.
it's
AI
like we
won't
talk
write your
about
emails.
selling and Cary Grant and so on. The
Yeah, yeah,
secret of
yeah.
action is don't get caught at it. The secret of AI for writing conversational stuff is don't get caught at it. I'm
Right.
thrilled there's AI for curing cancer. In our lifetimes, Denise, they're gonna solve hundreds of problems and things and diseases, probably
Mhm.
thousands that would have never been done without AI, because it takes all that information and computes it at blinding speed.
Yeah, it does, and most of
And
it's correct.
yeah, I'm all in favor of that. But
Yeah, me
don't
too.
send me a 14-page, document that I know you didn't write, that I know you're not I'm not talking to you, I'm talking about the people who couldn't spell cat 2 weeks ago. Because the minute I sense it, I delete it. Send it to me again, I delete it and block you. I don't have time for that nonsense.
Right,
So
right.
there's a fine line there. Someone said the other day, I thought was sort of clever, people fear AI is going to replace their jobs. It is not. And I thought, "Oh, right, I win." He said, "The person who knows how to use it effectively is gonna take your job." Oh, we're back to the
And
starting point.
yeah, and I think that's going to be true. Listen, I use AI a lot, and I've said that before, but I'm very, very careful how I use it. I don't take the first thing it produces and go, "Oh, that's a good article. I'm gonna put that out there."
Hit print.
Bad yeah, yeah, bad move. Read it out loud and is it using words that you don't use normally? Okay, that's your first thing, but the thing with AI is and I wrote this while you were talking, AI wrote your emails, but it did not earn your buyer's trust. Now, AI can do a lot of tasks for you. I'm working now, well, I was before I busted my shoulder, but I'm having Claude go through my computer and clean everything up and tell me where I'm, losing things, where I'm making mistakes. It's amazing. It would take me hours and hours and hours to clean up the documents that I've got all over this computer, and it's sorting through them and saying, at one point it said, "Denise, did you know you had this?" "No, I forgot." So, for if you're building a business, if you're trying to clean your business up, it's brilliant. It really is. In fact, my business partner and I are using Claude actually to build some amazing apps, and I've talked with you about one of them. It's going to be where people can go into an app and say, "Okay, I'm going to talk to this very difficult client. What can I say? What are my scripts?" It's going to help them. It's a rehearsal studio. It's brilliant. Wait till you see it. But AI is not going to make you a better human. Let's just put it right there. You need to
No,
be more human, not less, and you need to not depend on things that are not natural to you.
true. I'm, we have a friend, I know we're running out of time, but I'll be quick about this. We have a friend who's a magnificent artist, has been since she was a little girl, and she did a portrait of her husband that looks more like him than he does. You know, I keep waiting for it to talk to me, and, that's led her into doing commission work for other people's husbands or wives or what have you. Anyway, she was invited to display some of her stuff at a fundraiser at a country club, and, she knows less about computers than I do, but somehow somebody talked her into checking AI and so on, and she came back to me. She said, "Here's the program that what I should be doing," they said, and it was magnificent. Among them was overprice your original and sell prints at a deep discount. So
Right.
some originals she had that she probably been happy getting $500 for. She put it 2,000, but you could get a numbered print. They're limited, not for 2,000, but I'm making up a number, for 110. She sold them all.
Right. And you can take those to Etsy and you can sell them over there. I mean,
Yeah,
there's so many
yeah.
things you can do.
So there's an example, and she I don't want to she's not the brightest person I ever met. She's one of the sweetest people I've ever met and a wonderful hair cutter. But, when I didn't know she knew AI existed. Somebody probably told her about it, and they gave her a complete marketing plan, and she made lots of money selling prints that she, oh, they said make prints, that she didn't, selling prints she didn't have 30 days before that.
Exactly. And this goes back to what we were trying to say a little bit ago. Use AI, use it to build your business, use it to help your business. Don't use it to try to scam people into anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't. If you're in sales, you need to be able to look them in the eye. We'll talk about script chunks again at some point. We always do. But you need to be able to know what their objections are, how you get past those, what you need to talk about, what are their wants, what are their needs. Kind of like the guy with the saw. That was brilliant. I mean, he knew you had a rusty something in that garage. We all do. Yeah, and that was just absolutely brilliant selling. I don't think that not Amazon, but AI would have said, "Hey, go spray some guy's garage down and see what happens." But use it to build your business, to maintain your business. I cannot advise that you use it to approach clients or customers. Not yet,
Agree.
anyway.
Well, you're the boss, but I'm in charge of today of reminding you that we're just about out of time.
We are. Well, listen, and thank you for everybody for being patient while I was moaning and groaning and whining, which I did a lot of. In fact, my sister told me that I was a titty baby. I got my feelings hurt. I really did. But I hated being off air, and I'm so glad to be back. So what do you want to talk about next week, Ben?
Whatever you want. As you know, talking is not one of my problems.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure something out. But listen, everybody, go find us. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us Spotify, Apple. We are everywhere. And be sure to get the closers. Oh, and I have to mention this. Our friend, Ben, Cynthia K, she just sent me the outline for her book. She's just about done with it, and I'm going to read it, and I can't wait. So what number is she?
Super.
Is she 7 or I can't remember where she is in the lineup,
No,
and I think I think Randy's got his done too. I need to now say, "All right, now I'm embarrassed. I need to get caught up and get published." So that's on my list of things to do. But go to Ronzoni Books, RONZONE books. You just go to eBay, type in Ronzoni Books, and you're going to find Ben's books. You're going to find books that he has, written for other people. You're going to find the growing series, and I'll be there eventually. But again, Ronzoni Books, eBay, free shipping. They show up in just a day or so, and they're signed by Ben. So you got nothing to lose. Go get them.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. And we call it sudden shipping. If we get your order before 2:00 today, it'll go out today. So yeah,
Perfect.
you'll have it rather quickly.
That's perfect. Well, listen, we will be back next week. I don't know yet what we're going to be talking about, and I'll be honest with you, we start out with good intentions every week. We're going to talk about this, and then we wander off into the ether. But we always have a good time, and we always give you a lot of great information. And if you have questions, contact Ben. If you have questions about with Ben, it's sales. With me, it's marketing and podcasting and web development, but mostly marketing and podcasts. You can reach us both on LinkedIn. We're easy to find. Just look for us and we respond right away. So we're here for you and we will see you next week. Ben, see ya. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.